Hi, I'm Dr. Christina O'Malley, and this is Better Science Teaching. What I wanted to talk a little bit about today is how do we plan when we don't know a lot of the details of our year? This year has been a little bit challenging for us as teachers. I know that I like to set up my lesson plan book over the summer so that everything else sort of runs a little bit more smoothly over the rest of the year. And that's been a little bit challenging this year. At my school, I'm getting to the point where I'm feeling comfortable about at least about when the school is going to start and the parameters under which we're going to be open or perhaps close. If we're at a point in the summer now where I'm pretty confident about the fact that our school is going to start up, that we will start up with seeing students. And so that allows me to start my planning process. At this point, our school district my school building still hasn't released even information about how many days a week, how long are the class periods, a lot of those details. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what, I want everybody to have some confidence about this because we can still schedule ourselves, because we know a couple of things as teachers. We know, one, that we're going to have students, and two, that we have certain objectives that we're going to try to meet in our class. So what are we going to do within those parameters? Now, I am a science teacher, and so I like to do hands-on activities and labs and lots of group work and lots of debating and talking to each other. A lot of those things aren't going to look the same this year, just for safety concerns. We want our students to come to us, and we are entrusted with them by their parents, and we want them to go home safe too. So there are things that we have to do as teachers and as students, as part of our community, to keep each other safe. So some things will be different, but my objectives don't change and my students don't change. And so knowing those two pieces of information, there's a lot of planning that I can do. So what I'm going to show you how to do today is to take what your plans are for the year and to lay them out in a way that will be flexible for you. And this is a little bit of this is a technique that I've developed over a couple of years, and I've been using it for longer than that. So before I started teaching high school, I taught at universities as a lecturer and as a teaching assistant. I taught in an informal science setting, and now I teach as a formal classroom teacher. So I have lots of years kind of going into this and being able to think about different ways to plan this out. And I'm kind of surprised I don't see more teachers do it. So maybe this will help you, and this will be something that'll make things easier for you in the future. The most important thing here is to make sure that you build a somewhat flexible schedule for yourself. So the way we're going to do that is by using pencils and sticky notes. It's still going to be in your teacher planner, so don't worry, you can still make it cool. But I'm going to show you a couple things I'm going to use. One thing I'm going to have handy is my teacher planner. You guys have seen this in my other videos. Go check it out. This is a cute journal. It's growing on me. The other thing that you need is what your curriculum is and what your notes are. It says for some of you that's digital, for some of you that's printed. I have mine all digitally, but I really enjoy having a physical copy because I can keep notes in it and refer to it sort of on the fly. I don't like to pause my students and look at my computer if I can just have a sheet of paper open. So that's what I have handy. I'm just gonna do it for one class. So this is my chemistry binder. Just a little bit of a tour. I have 15 units for chemistry that I do. The last 3 are sort of extra. One year I got into 13, and that was really exciting. But really I try to get through the first 11. Those are all the core things. This course is the one that has science fair as a major component. So a lot of my objectives that I use, I'm in a private school, do require us to actually do that with our students for honors chemistry. So that's an addition to what's in this binder. All right, so here's my honors chemistry binder, and just that you can get a little bit of a sense about what's in here. If I flip to my first one, I've got all of my goals here, and then I have a lot of really detailed notes about what are the things I'm going to cover. I've got extra notes in here about things that I need, things that I've used in the past, different experiments, different assignments that are going to be made. These are all typed up notes about that. And so here we go. So when I start to plan, the thing that I do that's a little bit different than some other teachers is that I've always got this tab here, and on the tab are a bunch of Post-it notes. And what those Post-it notes are notes that are tied to different things in the unit. And so they're tied to labs, they're tied to activities, they're tied to worksheet assignments, they're tied to class discussions, they're tied to pre-assessments and post-assessments and tests and all those things. So what happens with my teacher planner every year is I'm going to reuse these Post-it notes. What I'm going to do is take my teacher planner and I'm going to flip to where I'm going to start. Now, our school year is supposed to start somewhere in this week, our schedule. And you'll notice I wrote this in pencil already. Guys, that's what makes it flexible. You know, I know that it's really awesome to use all kinds of fun pens. And trust me, I have all the fun pens. But if for now we start with pencil, and that's good. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to look to where I think I'm going to start doing instruction. And even though our schedule hasn't been released, I'm pretty confident that some of this stuff is getting pushed to the next week. And so what I'm going to do is say, okay, well, I'm going to expect that I see students full-time for the first time on August 17th. If that's true, for my classes, AP Bio, Chemistry, and Physics, what normally will happen with me is that the first day is going to be about classroom expectations. I really like to start with a lab. I like the first piece of instructional information to actually be a lab in this class. And so that won't happen on the first day. Sometimes it happens on the second or third day. And so some of the stuff is icebreakers and procedural things and stuff that we need to do. Generally, I'm not very heavy on lab procedures the first couple of days. I like to teach kids lab procedures as they need them so that they understand them in context and then get to practice them immediately. So what's going to happen this year, though, is I'm going to start with procedural things on the first day. That's what I'm going to give them the assignment for, things like they have to have their lab notebook. I don't expect that they have that on the first day. I'll give them a day or two to be able to come up with that. What I'm going to do then is talk about procedures the first day. I also suspect our class periods are going to be a little bit shorter this year. So we have that to grapple with too. But I'm going to talk about procedures. On Tuesday and Wednesday, those I think are the days that I'm going to talk about coronaviruses, because I'm a science teacher, and so I feel like that's sort of the responsibility of science teachers in buildings, is to be able to talk about what we've been experiencing in context. And then we'll spend some time Wednesday talking about what our response is to that, both what is our personal responsibility and how do we protect ourselves and others. Thursday, Friday, this is where you might start getting to some real content. So what I'm going to start doing then is pulling some of my Post-it notes. So I've got a Post-it note. This one's the exploding can. It's a good way to start the year, blowing stuff up. But I'm also going to need some other information. Now, if you're using a Post-it note, you're not going to have to use pencil on a Post-it note, right? Because you could just move the Post-it note. So up here, I don't have Post-it notes for the beginning of the year. So this is going to be like syllabus. Expectations. SARS-CoV-2, viruses. So that's going to be sort of things like viral replication, like what is it that's actually happening when a virus infects someone. And then this one is going to be pandemic. Okay, so then what will happen is I'll do an experiment on Thursday. Friday will be when we sort of do the wrap up from the experiment and sit and talk about it. So that's what I'm going to accomplish the first time. Now with a teacher planner like this, I have a nice grid, right? But the other thing that I really like about using this so-called horizontal arrangement is that basically what I've done is I've made a list of the things I'm going to accomplish. Now, if this was a week where we might be expecting something normal like snow, I could say, well, if Tuesday we don't have class because it's a snow day, I just bump everything down. And that's exactly how we're going to plan this year. Because we're going to just say, okay, well, this week, if given 5 normal days, this is what I should cover. And I think that for me, what I'm going to do is try to stick to that schedule topically, even if I don't cover everything with as much redundancy as I normally do. So then the next one, I've got, let me see, I actually have the first one from the other one. I have a thing in here about pre-assessment, which is nice to do, and I may do it if I have the opportunity. I may stick that. Yeah, over here. So there's pre-assessment. And then there's an investigation with steel wool that I start, and I'm just going to stick a couple of these in here. So here's an example of something. There's a warm-up here. What are some clues of change what something is made out of? So this is obviously a physical science question. This is something that I may take a little bit less time on if I realize that my time is short. It would be really nice to be able to finish up steel wool this week. This is tricky because this is something that's normally group assignments. I might not be able to do that this year. So the next week, see, all that I'm really doing here is making lists. So I'm just making lists of tasks that I can do. And then if I don't get to them, if time runs short, I have a sense for how long each of these things is going to take. And the nice thing about doing this with Post-it notes is that then once I'm done, there's a homework. I just like to kind of stick these together in groups. There's an assignment. There's a warm-up. So if I have some issue with this, if I'm not getting through it fast enough, then I can make a choice about, do I want to drop some of my activities or do I want to assign more homework? But at any rate, it gives me a way that I can pace through this. And so what I will do in a normal year is I will do this for every class. So every class will have a whole year already sort of designated for it. And that's really nice. I like to also put extra time if I think something might happen that week. So if I think there might be a snowstorm coming through, January usually has about one day every 2 weeks where I just leave it blank so that I can smush stuff there. Or I will put a review day before a test, and sometimes students need it and sometimes they don't need it, and sometimes that will move a day too. And then what I do each week, I don't usually do it daily, but that would be better practice, but each week I'll sit down, maybe every couple of days, and I will write in my book what actually happened and remove all the Post-it notes. So here's last year's book. If I flip this open, what's happened here in last year's teacher planner is that as each week happened, I wrote down what actually happened each week, and I moved my Post-it notes back into my notebook. So my teacher planner is not where everything goes. This is not where I have all of my details about what objectives I'm covering that day and all the details about my activities. This is where I write stuff that's specific to what happened in that class that week. So this is what my teacher planner ends up looking like at the end of the year. The other thing that's nice about having this then is I know exactly how fast things took. So I can pull this out at the beginning of the week. I do my planning on Sunday nights frequently. And I'll pull this out and I'll compare it to what I have planned for the next week. And I can tell, okay, well, this group of students is going to do this faster or this slower. I should spend more time on this. And so I can use this to reflect on what actually happened in the past and plan forward. So that's one really good way that I found that I can plan everything forward in a way that's flexible. So if something changes with our schedules, I can change this up. But this also allows me to do things like start to set up my Google Classroom with appropriate dates in it. So I know when things should be posted. And sometimes I'll go ahead and assume that a unit is going to end on time and have everything go live on a certain day. And that has worked out well for me in the past. And so I wanted to share that with you. Guys, it's important that this year, even with the uncertainty that we have, we know a lot. We know the objectives that we're going to cover. We know that school's going to happen. We know that we have students that we need to teach. And this is something that's absolutely doable for us. So I want you to go out and feel confident about this as you plan your year, and be ready to go on time without being stressed about it. So I hope that that helps you. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss anything. I do have things about science fair popping up every week. And I hope that you stay safe and you be well. You have a good end of your summer. I'll see you soon. Bye.